The wind was sharp and dry. Jack pulled his scarf tighter over his face as dust blew across the ruined alien village. Buildings were broken, walls half standing, and black burn marks stretched across the stone. It looked like a place death had already claimed, but Jack was not here for the dead. He was here for scrap, tools, anything he could trade for food. His boots crunched over broken glass. The place was silent. No voices, no animals, not even wind chimes. But then, as he stepped past a fallen archway, something stopped him. He heard it, a whisper faint, almost too soft to be real. Help. Jack spun around. Nothing. He waited. The whisper came again like it had been caught on the wind. Help me. Jack followed the sound, his heart picking up speed. He climbed over rubble, careful not to slip, until he came to what looked like the remains of a storage building. A heavy beam had collapsed over the side wall. Under it, barely visible, was a shadow. No, someone's hand. He dropped his bag and rushed forward. Hey, can you hear me? He called. Pulling at the stone, a soft voice answered, weak and shaky. Don't touch me, human. I'm too dirty. Jack froze. The voice was female, young, tired, but clear. She spoke his language, but her words were full of shame, like she believed she wasn't worth saving. He knelt beside her, lowering his face to see better. Under layers of dust and torn cloth, he saw a face salient, yes, but delicate. Her skin had a soft lilac tone. Her eyes were large and glowing faintly yellow. A long chain was wrapped tightly around her thin wrist, cutting into the skin. You're not dirty, Jack said softly. You're hurt. No, she whispered. I'm not supposed to be touched. Please, leave me. But her fingers, cold and shaking, were still wrapped around his. She hadn't let go. Jack reached into his bag, pulled out his small water flask, and held it to her lips. She turned her head at first, but then took a single sip, then another. What's your name? He asked. She didn't answer. Jack looked at the beam above her. It was too heavy to lift alone, but he had tools. He grabbed his portable lifter, hooked it to the beam, and pressed the switch. The machine groaned. Inch by inch, the weight rose. Dust fell. The girl coughed. He pulled her gently out from under the rubble. She cried out as her leg twisted broken. I need to take you to my ship, he said. No, don't take me anywhere, she begged. They'll find me. Who? He asked, but she looked away. Her dress was torn and burnt. Parts of her skin were bruised. A metal collar hung loosely around her neck, and the chain was locked to it. Whoever had done this treated her like property. I can't leave you here, Jack said firmly. You won't survive another night. The girl didn't answer, but her hand was still holding his dot. He gently lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light. He felt her heartbeat. It was weak as he walked back through the ruined village. Carrying her in silence, he couldn't stop thinking what had happened to this girl. Why was she alone? Who left her to die in chains? Halfway to his ship, she whispered again, Why are you helping me? Because someone has to, he said. Her head rested against his chest. She didn't speak again. When he reached the ship, he opened the back hatch and laid her gently on a padded crate. The ship's warm air wrapped around her cold skin. Safe now, he said. She looked up at him, eyes full of pain and confusion. Don't trust me, she whispered. Jack knelt beside her. Too late, he said, smiling a little. I already do. Her glowing eyes stared into his. And though her body trembled from fear, from pain, from cold, she never let go of his hand. The ship floated in the silence of space, drifting between dead moons and cold stars. Inside, Jack sat beside the sleeping alien girl. She lay on the small medical bed in his ship's medbay, wrapped in a thin blanket, her chest rising slowly. He had given her water and cleaned her cuts, but still, she hadn't told him her name. Jack leaned forward and gently checked the bandages on her leg. The fracture was clean, but she winced in her sleep. Her skin was soft and pale, lavender, bruised, in some places, burned in others. As he reached to clean a deep cut on her neck, something unusual caught his eye under the grime. A strange symbol glowed beneath the skin, faint and golden. It was not natural. Jack rubbed the area carefully with a wet cloth. As the dirt cleared, a mark appeared, drowned, sharp and glowing with a slow pulse. His hand stopped. His breath froze in his chest. He had seen that symbol once before. It was the ownership mark of the Crimson Chain, a powerful group known for slave trade and war crimes across systems. They never let anyone escape. And now he realized something terrifying. They had marked her. The girl suddenly opened her eyes, as if sensing his thoughts. Don't look at it, she whispered. Her voice was flat, hollow. What is this? Jack asked, pointing to the mark. She turned her head away and covered her neck with the blanket. It means I belong to them. You're not property, Jack said, trying to stay calm. They don't care, she whispered. If they find me, they'll take me back. They always do. Jack stood and started pacing. But you were left in ruins, alone. Why would they leave you there? I tried to run, she said quietly. I almost made it. But they caught me again. That village was my punishment. They chained me there as a message to the others. Jack stared at her, struggling to believe it. The girl pulled her knees up and wrapped her arms around them. I thought I would die before anyone found me. I wanted to. But then you came. Jack clenched his fists. He had rescued a girl. Yes, but now he had a new problem. If the Crimson Chain knew she was alive, If they knew he had her, they'd come, and they never sent just one ship. Do you have a name? He asked again. Gently. She was silent for a while. Then she whispered, not anymore. You do now, Jack said. I need to call you something. The girl thought for a long time, then finally said, you can call me whatever you want. Jack gave a half smile. I'll call you Lyra. The name made her blink. She didn't hate it later. As she slept again, Jack checked the ship's comms panel. Something was wrong. The signal feed showed an outgoing pulse. Someone had sent a short-range burst 5 minutes ago. Jack hadn't touched the system. He looked at Lyra. Could it be a tracker? He ran a deep scan over her body with the handheld scanner. It beeped near her collarbone. Jack narrowed his eyes and scanned again. There it was, a microtransmitter buried under her skin. Damn, he muttered. He grabbed his toolkit and carefully returned to her side. He couldn't risk cutting it out without painkillers. He needed her awake. She stirred. What are you doing? She asked, voice sleepy. You have a transmitter, he said. They already know where we are. We have to move now. Her eyes widened in fear. Then leave me. Jettison me in space. Don't let them take your ship. Not happening, Jack said. We escape together, or not at all. Her eyes filled with tears. Why? Why do you care so much? Jack leaned in close. Because someone should have helped you long ago. Suddenly, the ship's alarm buzzed. A motion ping. A ship had entered the system. Jack raced to the cockpit and looked at the screen. It was a Crimson Chain scout, small, fast, and deadly, no doubt scanning for her signal. He shut down the engines and cut the lights. The ship went dark. Back in the medbay, Lyra shook with fear. Jack sat beside her. They're close, she said. I know, he whispered. She grabbed his hand. Promise me something. What is it? If they take me, destroy me. Don't let them have me again. Jack looked at her, this girl who thought she was too dirty to touch, too broken to save. I won't let them take you, he said. Not now, not ever. Outside, the enemy ship scanned the darkness. Inside, Jack and Lyra waited in silence, breathing as one, ready to run again. The ship floated deep in asteroid shadows, hiding from the hunter in the dark. Jack had flown through a broken asteroid belt, flying low, dodging space rocks, silent and fast. Behind them, the Crimson Chain scouts still searched. For now they had lost it, but time was short. Inside the ship, everything was still. The only sound was Lyra's slow breathing. Jack sat across from her, watching as she stared at the floor. She hadn't spoken since they escaped. She sat with her arms wrapped around herself, shivering. Though the room was warm, her collar was gone now. Jack had cut it off himself, but she still reached up and touched her neck, as if it was still there. I don't understand you, she said softly. You risked your life. For me. Jack stayed quiet. She looked up, eyes searching his face. No one's ever done that. He leaned forward. You deserve better. That's all. Her voice dropped lower. You don't even know my real name. Then tell me, Jack said gently. Her eyes went cold again. I gave it up. Why? Because they used it against me, she said. Every time they called it, it hurt. It became a weapon. They said if I forgot it, I'd feel nothing. They were right. Jack sat back. The pain in her voice was deep, old, buried. Even if they broke your name, he said, they didn't break you. She laughed bitterly. They did. Jack stood and walked to the wall. He opened a small locker and pulled out a folded piece of fabric. It was a soft gray shirt, fresh, clean, plain. He handed it to her. Put this on, he said. It's yours now. Not from them, from me. She took it slowly, as if afraid to touch it. She stared at the soft cloth in her hands. After a long pause, she asked, do you really want to know my name? Jack looked at her and nodded once. She whispered it so low he almost didn't hear it. Selena. Jack's eyes widened. He had heard that name before. A report. A missing noble daughter from the house of Valera years ago, said to be kidnapped during a civil raid. Never found Selena from the noble house. She flinched. I told you I gave it up. But you're her, Jack said. You're the one they search for. Selena turned her head. If they knew I was alive, they'd use me as a political tool. Again, they won't rescue me. Number one ever came. Jack stepped closer. Then let me come for you now. She looked at him. Really looked. You talk like I'm still someone. You are someone, Jack said. Not a slave, not a tool. You're Selena. A tear ran down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, angry at herself. I don't cry, she said. You do now, Jack said, gently smiling. Suddenly the ship lights flickered. Jack turned. An alert blinked red on the main panel. Another signal. Someone was pinging. Then Jack ran to the console. The scout ship was backhand this time. It had friends. 2 more ships had entered the system. Selena's breath caught. They found me again. We still have time, Jack said. There's a jump gate nearby. If I punch in the right code, we can vanish. He tapped fast on the screen. The ship turned sharply. Selena grabbed the wall to stay upright as the ship sped through the asteroid maze. Jack felt something inside him shift. This girl Selena had been stolen, erased, treated like a thing. But now she was choosing to speak her name again, choosing to cry, choosing to live. A voice crackled on the radio ship. Surrender the girl. We have orders. Do not resist. Jack hit mute. Selina, he said, do you trust me? I don't know, she whispered, but I want to. That was enough. The ship's engines roared. Jack aimed at the jump gate coordinates and slammed the throttle. Behind them, the crimson chained ships fired. Lights flashed, shields cracked, but just as the energy net closed in, Jack shouted, now. The ship jumped. Light swallowed them whole. And just like that, they were gone. Selina, once a slave with no name, now flew through space with the only human who never looked at her like she was broken. She whispered to herself, not to Jack, not to anyone, just to feel it again. My name is Selina, and this time her hand found his again. She didn't let go. Asterisk, the stars outside were calm, but Jack's hands were not. He sat in the dark pilot seat, staring at the navigation panel, watching the signal replay over and over. The jump had worked. For now, they were out of reach. But the crimson chain had traced them before. And now that they knew Selina was alive, they would never stop. Behind him, Selina stood quietly near the cargo bay door. She had changed into the clean shirt Jack gave her. It was too big, but she didn't seem to care. Her long silver hair was still tangled, her skin still carried old bruises. But something had changed. She had spoken her name, and that made her dangerous. Jack turned and looked at her. We can't stay in open space. We need fuel and supplies. Where? She asked. There's a trade port near an old mining colony. It's quiet off-grid. I know a place we can dock. Selina didn't answer. Her fingers ran along the side of the ship wall, slow and thoughtful. You've been here alone a long time, haven't you? Jack asked. She nodded. Too long. They reached the colony 2 hours later. It was ugly, made of steel, old plastic domes, and hanging wires. Everything looked broken, but it was alive. Ships came and went, lights blinked behind greasy windows. No one asked questions here. Jack guided the ship into a private hangar. He shut down the engines and looked at Selina. Stay here, he said. I'll go get supplies and fuel. This place isn't safe for you. She nodded, but something in her eyes told him she didn't want to be left alone again. Jack stepped out into the colony streets. He kept his coat hood up and his pistol hidden. The market was loud, full of rough voices, cheap lights, and alien smells. He found fuel quickly, paid in credits, and moved toward the med supply vendor. That's when he felt it. Someone watching him. He turned fast. Nothing but the air had changed. It felt heavy now. He grabbed the medical kit and headed back toward the hangar. Inside the ship, Selina looked out the small window. The stars were gone, replaced by old metal walls and darkness. Her breath fogged the glass. Her heart beat fast. Then she heard it. A sound, light, quiet, the soft click of a signal. Her blood turned cold. She ran to the medbay and opened the locker where Jack had stored the old collar, the one with the tracking mark. It was glowing faintly. No, she whispered. The collar was sending again. Selina grabbed it and ran to the waste chute. She tossed it in and slammed the button. The collar shot into deep space, but she knew it was too late. They were already coming. Just then, Jack returned. The ship door opened and he saw her standing near the chute, eyes wide, breathing hard. What happened? He asked. I think I triggered another signal, she said. They'll find us. Jack dropped the supply bag and stepped forward. We'll run again. No, she said. They'll keep chasing. Because I used my name, because I remembered who I am. Jack looked into her eyes. They want me. As a symbol, she said. They don't just want me back. They want to show the galaxy they own everything, even our names. He took her hand. Then we make a stand. Selina shook her head. You'll die. Then I'll die doing something right. Suddenly, the ship's console flashed red. Multiple ships were inbound. Selina grabbed Jack's sleeve. There. You're good, Jack said, pulling a hidden lever near the wall. A panel opened, revealing an old defense turret system. Let's give them a surprise. Outside, the crimson chain ships landed like metal wolves. Figures in red armor marched toward the hangar door. One of them held a device, blinking faster. Inside the ship, Selina sat beside Jack. She had taken a small stun blade from his gear. In case her hands trembled, but not from fear. From fire. I used to hide from them, she said. Not anymore. Jack nodded. Ready. She looked at him and smiled for the first time. Ready. The hangar doors burst open. Smoke filled the air. Blaster fire lit the dark, but Selina did not run. She moved beside the human who gave her back her name and made a promise. This time, she would fight for her freedom, and never let it be taken again. The fight was over. The floor of the hangar was covered in smoke and silence. Jack limped back into the ship, dragging Selina with him. Her shoulder was bleeding. His coat was scorched. The crimson chain soldiers were gone, either down or retreating, but both of them knew this was not the end. Jack locked the ship door and flew the vessel away before more could arrive. They didn't speak for a long time. Not until the stars returned outside the windows. Selina sat in the medbay holding her arm. The cut was deep. Her breath was shaking. Jack entered with the medkit. Let me look, he said. Selina hesitated. Then she nodded. He knelt beside her, gently pulling back her sleeve. Blood had stained the cloth. Her skin flinched under his touch, even though he was careful. She didn't cry. She just stared at the wall, eyes blank. Jack cleaned the wound and wrapped it tight. Does it hurt? He asked. Not as much as before, she whispered. He looked up. Before today? No, she said, before you. Jack didn't speak. He took her hand in his, and she didn't pull away. She looked at him. Her lips trembled. I don't know how to feel warmth anymore, she said. When you touch me, it scares me. Why? Because I don't know what it means to be safe, she said. No one ever touched me with kindness. Only pain, only chains. Her voice cracked. I don't know if I deserve to feel warm. Jack's heart burned. He stood up, pulled off his coat, and sat beside her on the bed. Then, without a word, he opened his arms and offered them, not to force, not to demand, but just to be there. Selina stared, her breath caught. Slowly, slowly. She leaned in, her body touched his. She waited for pain. None came. She waited for harsh words. None came. She only heard his heartbeat, felt his warmth. Her head rested on his chest. Her eyes closed, and for the first time in years, she let herself feel it. Safety, that her voice was so quiet he almost didn't hear it. I used to dream that someone would hold me like this, but dreams were lies. They always ended with chains. Jack whispered, this isn't a dream, and no chains will ever touch you again. She didn't answer, but her hand gripped his shirt, tight like a child scared of losing a star. The ship moved silently through space, heading toward the cold moons of Solaris 6. Jack planned to find shelter there, a research base long abandoned. No one would follow them that deep into forgotten systems. As the ship drifted, Selina slept against him, and this time she didn't cry in her sleep. When she woke up hours later, she didn't let go. She just sat up slowly, brushing her silver hair back from her face. I'm not used to sleeping without nightmares, she said. Then you'll have to get used to it, Jack replied with a soft grin. Selina laughed a little, just a small sound, but it was the first real laugh from her lips. I'm still afraid, she admitted. Me too, Jack said. She looked surprised. You? Jack nodded. I'm afraid of failing you, of not being enough to keep you safe. You already did, she whispered. You made me feel warm again. The ship's screen blinked with new data. Solaris 6 was close. Jack stood. We'll land soon. There's an old shelter we can use. Selina didn't move right away. Then she stood too and said something he didn't expect. I want to help. Jack looked at her. You've already done more than enough. No, she said. I want to fight for my own freedom now. I want to be strong again. She walked to the wall where he kept his tools and gear. She picked up a scanner and turned it over in her hands. I'm not a slave anymore, she said. I'm not someone to hide in corners. If you let me, I'll be part of this. I won't be just your mission. I'll be your partner. Jack didn't speak for a moment. Then, he smiled. I'd like that, Selina, and she smiled back. Outside, the frozen moons spun in the distance. But inside the ship, something had thawed. Something warm and alive. Not because of battle, not because of escape, but because the girl who once whispered, "Don't touch me," had chosen to stay in his arms, and she was no longer afraid of the warmth. The moons of Solaris 6 were cold, silver giants covered in snow and silence. Jack's ship landed on the smallest one, deep inside a valley between crystal cliffs. The place had once been a research base, now it was abandoned, forgotten by maps, perfect for hiding. But hiding wasn't Jack's plan anymore, and it wasn't Selina's either. They set up inside the base's old power room. Lights flickered weakly, but they worked. Jack repaired the scanners. Selina studied the maps. For the first time, she moved without fear. She wasn't running anymore. She was preparing. Jack watched her from across the room. Her movements were sharper, stronger. She still carried pain, but now she carried purpose too. "We can't run forever," Selina said. "I know," Jack replied. "They won't stop hunting me," she continued, "unless we make them." Jack nodded. "I've been thinking the same." They both knew the truth. The Crimson Chain didn't just want Selina back. They wanted her name, her bloodline, her silence. As long as she breathed freely, she was with threat to their rule. That night, while Jack worked on the base's old communication system, Selina stood outside in the snow. The cold wind blew through her silver hair, but she didn't shiver. She stared at the stars above, so many, so wide. Her voice was quiet. "I was born in a house with golden walls," she whispered, "but I never saw the stars until I was in chains." Jack walked out, his coat wrapped tight. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't want to live in fear anymore," she said. "I want to burn their chains. I want to stand where they can't touch me." Jack stepped closer. "Then, we make that happen." He pulled a small device from his coat, an old access key. "This is how I found something." Selina turned to him. "There's a leader," Jack said. "The one who branded you. His name is Gorik. He's not just a criminal, he's the one behind the chain's slave system. If we take him out, we send a message to all the others." Selina's face changed. She had heard that name before. Gorik, the man who had smiled as she was chained, who laughed when she screamed, who erased her name with a single command. "Where is he?" she asked. "Fortress World. Deep inside the belt of Tyrus, but there's a weakness," Jack explained. "Supply transport routes are unguarded. I can sneak in with my clearance codes." "I'm going with you," Selina said. Jack shook his head. It's too dangerous. I'm not staying behind again, she said, firm. This is my freedom. I'll pay the price myself. Jack saw it in her eyes. He couldn't argue. They left 2 nights later. The ship's lights were dark. They flew low, silent, hidden in asteroid dust. Selena sat beside Jack in the cockpit, her hand resting on the grip of a stolen pulse pistol. As they neared Gorik's fortress, memories clawed at her mind. Cold floors, chains, screams in the dark. But she didn't turn away. She kept her eyes forward. Jack landed the ship behind a cargo port wall. He knew the tunnels from his past life as a smuggler. They moved fast and quiet. Selena followed close, her steps careful but sure. They reached the inner hall ahead. 2 guards in red armor blocked the gate. Jack pulled his weapon. You ready? Selena stepped ahead of him. Let me do this, she said. Jack watched as she walked forward, bold and silent. The guards saw her and froze. Is that? One muttered. Before they could raise alarms. Selena fired. 2 quick shots. Both dropped. Jack caught up to her, breath heavy. You didn't even blink, he said. I'm tired of blinking while they rule, she said. They pushed through the gate. Inside, Gorik stood waiting, old, tall. His skin was thick and gray, with cruel eyes that burned like rusted fire. Well, he said, the little heir returns. Selena aimed her pistol. No more chains. Gorik laughed. You think killing me will end anything? No, she said. But it starts something. She fired. Once. Right into the brand on his chest. He dropped. Silence filled the room. Jack walked beside her. You did it? No, she whispered. We did it. Alarms started screaming across the base. They ran back through the tunnels, guards chasing them, bullets slicing the air. They reached the ship just in time. As the engines roared, Selena fired from the hatch, covering Jack. He pulled her in and launched. The fortress behind them burned in the window inside the ship. Selena leaned against the wall, eyes wide, heart pounding. She wasn't a slave anymore. She was free, but freedom had a price, and she had finally paid it. The stars were quiet again. After days of running, after the burning fortress and the final shot, Jack's ship now floated in a calm sky above a green world. The war was behind them. The scars were still fresh, but something had changed. Selena stood at the ship window watching the planet below. It was peaceful, covered in lakes and forests, untouched by war or slavery, a place where no one knew her name, a place where she could build a new one. Jack entered the room silently, holding 2 cups of warm tea. He handed one to her. She took it with both hands and didn't speak. She didn't need to. The silence between them had changed too. It was no longer heavy or full of fear. It was full of understanding. Do you want to land here? Jack asked. Selena took a slow sip. Do you want to stay? I go where you go, he said. She looked down into her cup. You could go anywhere. You don't have to stay with someone like me. Jack stepped closer. You're not someone like anything. You're just... She smiled. Small, tired, real. He sat beside her. They watched the stars in silence for a moment. Then she said, do you remember the first thing I said to you? He nodded. Don't touch me, human. I'm too dirty. Her voice dropped. I really believed that. I never did. Selena turned her hand over and placed it on top of his. I think I held on to your hand that day, she said, because part of me didn't want to let go, even when I was afraid. Jack turned his hand over, wrapping his fingers gently around hers. You never let go, he said, even when you should have. Maybe, she said softly, but if I had, I wouldn't be here. They stayed like that for a long time. No alarms, no ships chasing, no screams, only the hum of a safe ship and the soft glow of new hope. Later, they landed the ship near a small waterfall on the green world. Selena stepped out first. Her bare feet touched grass, real grass, not steel, not ash, not dust. She knelt down and ran her fingers through the earth. Jack watched from behind her. What does it feel like? He asked. Alive, she whispered. For the first time in a long time, I feel alive. They built a small shelter near the water, nothing big, just enough to sleep, eat, and breathe without fear. Jack set up power panels. Selena cleaned old tools. Together they planted seeds near the riverbank. Seeds Jack had kept for years, never thinking he'd use them. Each night, they sat by the fire. And each morning Selena smiled more than the last. But one night, as they watched the stars from their wooden porch, Selena asked, do you think they'll come again? Jack didn't answer right away. Then he said, maybe, maybe not. If they do, she said, I won't run. I know, he said, and I'll stand beside you. She looked at him. The firelight danced in her silver eyes. I want to give something back, she said. To others, like me. Maybe, one day, we can help the next girl who thinks she's too broken to be loved. Jack nodded. We will. She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. This place doesn't have chains, she whispered. But it has something better. What's that? He asked. She held up their hands, still locked together. Jack closed his eyes for a second and smiled. The girl who once believed she was nothing was now the heart of something beautiful, and she never let go.